It's Saturday morning. It's 9 o'clock. Yes, that could only mean one thing. It's time for the Monster Magic Saturday Show. Let's do this.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning. Feel the sun shining for your eyes.
Woo! Good morning, everybody. Yes, it's time to drag yourselves away from the Olympics, which I think have been so entertaining and enthralling and emotional. Just drag yourselves away for a few moments to enjoy the wonder of magic reviews. First up, we have Eddie Raymond's Rough and Smooth Index. This is quite a revolutionary thing, surprisingly enough, given that card indexes have been around since the dawn of card magic, it seems, certainly since the late 1800s. Obviously very popular with mentalists, not always with cards, can be with billets and things like that. But the idea of a playing card index is that you can retrieve any chosen card, any desired value from your pocket or perhaps your hat or your briefcase very, very quickly. And a lot of people have come up with lots of different methods for it, all sort of along similar lines. Decks came out last year and proved very, very popular, as did Cheetah. Eddie has changed the whole thing with a very, very clever idea. Let me actually show you what you get. I don't think Eddie will mind too much, but it looks like this. This is the size of it. It's not the most beautiful of card gimmicks, card props for sure. It's not 3D printed. This is electrical tape. And this is all just acetate, as you'd expect. Very similar. If you've seen card indexes before, you would have come across this sort of thing. But what is ingenious is actually how the cards are set up inside here, and the fact that it involves rough and smooth, as the name suggests. And that makes it much, much quicker and easier than I would ever imagined. It didn't sound like a big thing when I read about it, but actually in use it makes a lot of sense. And the best thing about this is you only really ever have to count up to 2, so you don't have to worry about thumbing through up to 10 or 13 or 5 or 6, anything. 2 is it, whether you go from the front or the back. It is really, really clever, and it is really, really quick. It is pretty intuitive. It doesn't take you very long to master, which is what you need to do with a card index. Even this one, I would suggest that you practice it a lot to keep on getting the desired card. Just carry it around in your pocket all of the time and just randomly pull out cards until you get nice and quick about it. Eddie's tutorial is short and sweet, shall we say. He does run through exactly how to use it. There's not that much you need to know. One of the tips he does point out, though, is that when someone's named the card, or you know what card you need to go for, before your hand goes into your pocket, figure out where it is in the index, so that when you actually go into time spent in the pocket is a lot less than if you go into your pocket and then you start thinking. It looks like you're fiddling around. It doesn't give any routines at all with it, which is a shame, and that is really what fascinates me with card indexes, especially when everyone has been buying them. Everyone's been buying Cheetah and decks and things, as if, you know, they've been desperate to do all of these tricks for so long, and all they needed was a good, fast, reliable index. But I found this one the quickest one to learn by a long shot. It's not very big. It is roughly, let me see if I can find, it isn't much different to having a deck of cards. If I squeeze this together a bit, it isn't much different to having a deck of cards, perhaps 1.5 decks width in total. And so it does fit into your pocket nicely. It'd be tight in a pair of jeans, as would a deck of cards. So if you've got a suit pocket, that will be great. You can also do it from your jacket pocket. The other bonuses of this routine is if you want to pull out 4 of a kind, you can literally do that instantly. You don't have to search for 4 cards. The way this is arranged, the way the cards are treated, means that you can grab 4 cards, all the 4 aces or any 4 that anyone names, as quickly as pulling out one card. And that, I think, is probably a unique feature and makes it really versatile if you're thinking up your own routines. And although it really isn't a looker, I think this is the best one pocket card index I've ever tried out. It took me, the learning curve was so short, I couldn't believe it. It is really practical and it's really, really durable. You can put more tape around it if you want. It comes in red and blue, but Eddie does tell you how he treats the cards and what he treats them with. So if you wanted to change it out for a red deck or even a different style deck, if you use Tally Hose or Phoenix, for example, you can do that. If you've got a use for a card index, I think this is the one for you. It is Eddie Raymond's Rough and Smooth Index, $44.99. Next up, we've got Not So Sharp 2.0 by Wayne Fox and TCC. I'm not sure when Wayne ever released Not So Sharp 1, but he's now teamed up with TCC, who are great at making props, let's face it, and they have smashed it once again with these props. The trick is essentially a little bit of fun that you do with a Sharpie, a little bit of business where you can either have a Sharpie roll it up into a ball, or you can take the Sharpie and splat it into a little flat pancake like a fried egg, and you can restore the Sharpie if you wish. Let me show you what you get. So these are the props. This is the splat, which is just great. It's sort of not perfectly flat. It really does look like you've sort of been squished between your palms, and it's got the impression of your palms on it. And then you've got the ball as well, which again is not like a perfectly round ball. It's made to look like something's melted, like you've got some plasticine, so it's got slight impressions. It's imperfect, and it does look like it's just been rolled up, as if it's gone to a soft Play-Doh type thing. Really, really great props. Absolutely perfect. The teaching is by Wayne himself. It's a pretty short video. I think it's only about sort of 10 or 15 minutes long, and he runs through what you do with it. It is a bit of business. It's not really a trick in itself. It's just something to do with a Sharpie when you're putting the lid back on. But those moments are often the moments that people remember. If you think of watching Bill Malone, he's on the Loose DVDs, when he was pulling the cards out of his mouth, everyone started doing that. They realized that, silly as it was, it got a great laugh and a great reaction, and you can repeat it throughout. You can go from the ball to the splat if you want to make a bit of a routine out of it. Wayne doesn't. I think he just goes, this one for one routine, and perhaps, for a second routine. If he uses the pen twice within the same set, then it's just something else to do as well. The restoration of stretching this back out into the pen is particularly nice. Really, really like that. Wayne's teaching is really nice. It suffers a little bit from only having the one angle, and perhaps, if you could see what's going on from behind his hands as well, or just a couple of extra angles, the teaching might be slightly better, but there's not too much to it. It is basic sleights, creating some really good, powerful magic. It really isn't that hard. It's pretty much not giving the game away too much, but the flip stick move by Flip of Holland is pretty much all you need to do. And you can learn lots of little things with Sharpies as well. I know that Craig Petty, in his original Chop, had a brilliant little Sharpie phase at the start of Chop, which I don't think is on the new one, which is a shame, because that gives you a lot of fun from just having a card signed and going into this as well. You can really, really play with it. So a bit of a shame perhaps that Wayne didn't add a few other bits and pieces that you can do with a Sharpie. For me, this is classic Wayne Fox. I do have a lot of time for Wayne. I think he creates and certainly performs some wonderful magic using basic sleights, but using them, doing them really well when appropriate. So this isn't difficult. It does require basic sleights, but it is super magic, and they're great objects to hand out. It will take up a bit of pocket space if you're table hopping, but I think it's worth it. It's Not So Sharp 2.0 by Wayne Fox, $44.99. Next up, we've got Jeki Use CTG, or chip through glass. I don't really need to tell you the effect. I can show you because there's a full performance. There's no doubt. It's a lovely routine, isn't it? It's beautiful. It's sort of part free fly and part chop cup, if you will. I really, really like the performance. I think it is a great visual trick. Certainly brilliant for social media. It's not impossible to do it close up. I don't think you could do it walk around. I think you'd have to sort of do it in parlour. The problem with this is that the gimmick or the sneaky bit that you need to sort of apply to yourself, and you can't do that on the fly. It's a real shame that it doesn't come with a gimmick where you can just sort of put your hand in your pocket, get set up and go into it. It doesn't work like that. So for me, you've either got to be sort of part of a start of a parlor show essentially, or it's for social media. You can get out of it pretty quickly, you just can't get into it very quickly, and you do need to be seated for the last chip, certainly. And it's a shame there's not an alternative to that, because again, if you sort of change the gimmick a little bit, perhaps a bit of 3D printing or something, I don't know, and had an alternative to that last coin vanish, I'm not sure what that would be, I haven't played with it enough, then you would have a nice piece of walk around magic. It's not too angle sensitive. Let me show you what you get, because what you get is also slightly disappointing. Let me hang on. Can't actually show you everything that you get, but you get the glass, which is a polycarbonate glass, just the right size. Great that that's included, so that you can do the routine straight away. You don't have to go looking for something, and because it's polycarbonate, it'll travel just fine. But these are the chips, and I just don't like them. They're not real chips. I'm not quite sure. They've obviously printed some stickers out, so it's basically a very light sheet of plastic that's been cut into circles with these stickers put on. The size is sort of all right, but there's no weight to them at all. They are really light, which is probably, again, fine. Great for the routine. The slides are easy enough. I think I'd like them to be a bit bigger as well. I just don't like these chips. They bug me, especially if you're performing it for people and they're going to be holding these chips and inspecting them. They'll feel how light they are. They feel like something you'd get in a children's toy when my children were much younger, and you had the sort of the fake tills in the shops. It sort of feels like that sort of the plastic money. It feels like that. Very disappointing, really, to be honest. But the glass is fine, and you do get some other little bits and pieces in here to get you up and running straight away. It is a really enjoyable routine to learn. It takes some slights, I think they call them intermediate. They're pretty easy, and Jeki's teaching does have multiple angles, does tell you exactly how to hold the glass at several times, so it's not hard. There are some subtleties in it. The vanish of the last coin is probably the bit you're going to be worrying about the most, and that's probably the bit you need to practice the most. You do end up with a really beautiful routine. It's just got those restrictions of not being able to get into it easily and needing to be seated at a table, and I can't get over the chips. For social media, it is great, and we all know that is where Jeki really excels. He's got a brilliant persona. He's a really good magician. For genuine close-up, you're gonna struggle. For a starting routine in a parlour show, you'll be fine. That is Chip Through Glass by Jeki U, $24.99. Next up, we've got Electric Sensation by Neil Jouve. This has sprung back to life. It was released about 4 years ago, I believe. And it was pretty popular back then. It's a really fun gimmick. The idea is that you can have a card selected, lost in the deck, and then run through the deck and have a cards touched against your spectators' fingers, and when it's their chosen card, they will receive an electric shock. Giving someone an electric shock is a slightly dangerous thing to do. I do remember at Prop Dog we were building an electric chair for someone, and testing that out to find out what volts you needed was an experience. This doesn't use any form of electricity. You don't need to charge it up. It's a very simple, durable, brilliant gimmick that really does, you won't believe it until you try it on yourself, give the sensation of a little bit of a static electricity shock. Not a mains style heart stopping shock by any means, but more like a little bit of static electricity, when you just sort of touch some nylon sheets in a cheap B&B, and it's just like that. It is very clever and versatile, and that is probably the best thing about this. It just gives a brilliant moment of magic that is different to anything else, and you can pop it into your deck at any time. You could just add it on, you can have it hidden in the card box, put the deck away, bring out the card box. It can ride along inside the deck if you're doing an ambitious card routine or any sort of routine like that. It does create a natural break at the back of the deck, so you can use it as a key card if you really wish. So it isn't really necessary to have an entire deck dedicated just to use this gimmick. The tutorial is by Nick Lecapo, and he runs through various routines by various different members of the Penguin Magic team. So that just shows how you can use your imagination with this gimmick. It starts off with Nick teaching a very basic routine and a basic handling. It then goes on to Nick Popper, who teaches a routine, I think it's called Triple Threat, which is really nice and possibly one of my favourite tricks on here. It also includes a brilliant moment where he has a card that curls away, that bends down when it's approaching someone's finger. He teaches how to make that little gimmick as well. It is almost as good as Electric Sensation itself, in my opinion. It does get a good laugh. It's a very comic moment. That makes it such an entertaining routine. It's probably the highlight for me on this tutorial. And also Nick Popper talks about the timing of it all. So you time when they get the shock, and you want to time it, as he says, just as they touch the card, not a moment after, because that's, electricity, it almost happens before you touch the object, doesn't it? A little static shock. So you want to get that timing right, and you'll have the perfect effect. It's then back to Nick Lecapo, who teaches his cello shock, which uses the cellophane from the deck of cards. That goes on someone's palm. That gets the shock, and that cellophane will fly. It will jump off their hand. And that means that although your participant doesn't feel the shock, they get to see a massive movement, which gives them a shock in a different way. I really like it. It is a really fun use of it. So in a way, already you're getting the impression that you can do a lot of different effects with this, even though it's the same gimmick. It then moves on to Eric Tate, who teaches one based purely on static electricity. The idea is that the cards are made from recycled balloons, so you can rub them on your head and they'll stick together, and he has a nice moment where the two cards stick together. This one doesn't involve a selection, and then you can give people the static shock as well. really nice, really entertaining. Eric says he doesn't do it as a trick in itself necessarily. He'll sort of do it at the end of a card trick. And then once again, it's back to Nick LaCapo, who teaches a nice little mind reading routine with it. He can use it with a marked deck, or you can force the card if you like, or you can peek the card. Anyway, the cards go back in the box. You then run through the cards, and on their card, they will get the electric shock off the top of the box. Really nice. And then finally, you have Dalton Wayne, who teaches quite a similar version of electric sensation to the basic routine, but in this one, the card ends up scorched, in the idea that it's been a real genuine spark. I really admired the way the Penguin team have taken Neil Jouve's idea and turned it into a project, given lots and lots of ideas, and just shown what you can do. It's a very, very simple thing. You might be disappointed when you see what it is, but when you do it on yourself and you get to see how it feels, you'll buy into it, and you'll have a lot of fun. It's very easy to carry around. Even just stick it within the cellophane of the deck if you like, and add it on whenever you wish. It is a brilliant thing to have in your pocket to give people a sensation with the card trick that they wouldn't normally get. That is Electric Sensation by Neil Jouve, 1699. And finally, it's Kirin Dice by TCC. This is part of their Classico range, and it looks very, very TCC. TCC are trying to branch out, I feel, at the moment. They're really trying to encourage new creators to get in touch with them and have them make the props for them, because that is really what TCC are brilliant at. They're brilliant at discovering old tricks and recreating them with just great props. But now they're sort of branching out and trying to get new people on board. And that was why, so something like Not Sharp is it's not a typical TCC trick, is it? It's, let me see, this isn't a typical TCC product. I'll show you what a TCC product should look like. And that is this. This is the Kirin Dice. It is a really, really well-made box. Lots of lovely wood. These are the dice, which are absolutely beautiful wooden dice. It is a classic TCC, and this is a really nice trick, as it happens. You show the dice like this, you put the lid on the box. You can show, so basically I've deliberately not got any fives showing here, so it's not five. You give it a shake, and you end up with all of the fives, and obviously there's no fives at the top, so you give it a rotate. Oop. And they're all fives there. Really, really easy to do. The best bit is that there's no gimmicks, really. These dice aren't gimmicked in any way. They can be examined. There's nothing on them. There's no shells. There's nothing hidden in the box. It's really, really pretty clever. And also, you can give these to your spectator. They can shake it as much as they like, and they won't be able to repeat it. It is pretty much examinable. There's no extra bits. You get the box and you get the dice, and that is the trick. It comes with 4 different routines that they teach, which are all much of a muchness. Basically, they are basically odd numbered dice turning into matching dice. You can do it with 1 spectator, you can do it with 2 spectators. You can show that the dice on the top influences the dice on the bottom, for example. And it's really, really well made. It's a great prop. It's a nice weight. It is beautiful object. As a lot of TCC things are. I really, really think it's a smart method. I'm surprised how easy it is. I thought there'd be more of a knack to it, but it's not. It is genuinely really, really easy. Let me just see if let me not have all the numbers matching on top. It really is very easy indeed. It is just doing that, and they all change. But that's the problem, is that move is huge, it's big. You're definitely doing something. There's definitely a skill in there if it's not magic. And the fact that the spectator can't do it is fine, does make a difference, but I'm not sure doing that makes it feel very much like a magic trick. Feels like skill more than magic. So it's very hard for it to feel like magic. It's very hard to make it feel like it's not, that's not doing what it is actually genuinely doing. It's sort of that has to be the method. What goes on inside the box, perhaps your spectator doesn't know, but they do know that that has a good deal to do with it. It's hard to pass it off as a magic gesture. Let me just make a magic gesture. Doesn't work. And that's probably its downfall. The routines taught are fairly limited, and it's all pretty much based on the idea that a spectator, a participant, can choose a number and you can shake the dice and it turns into those numbers. It is fun to do. I wish there was a more magical thing you can do with it, perhaps use the numbers in some other way. I don't know, as part of a book test or some other divination. I'm not sure. I mean, I really like it. I love the way they change. I love the way you can change the top separately from the bottom. It's super clever. It amuses me whenever I do it. I just can't see that doing that gets away with it as being magical. That's the problem. It's a wonderful prop. It's a beautiful prop. Perhaps this could be a nicer wooden finish. I don't know. And the second routine they teach with 2 participants, I think, is a really great trick. I'm not sure it is magic, but it is very easy to do. And I think pretty baffling when you hand these out and they can't see anything in the box. There's nothing suspicious to go on. These are all examinable. I think you will fry people. Also, quality like this doesn't come cheap. That is Kirin Dice by TCC, $78.99.
Hey, you old fool! You slept through the show! Who's a fool? You watched it!
And that's it for this week. You can now put your croissants down and get into training, because I'm sure you've all been inspired to try and qualify for the next Olympics. Please, in between all of that, grab some magic, go out there and have some fun with the best hobby in the world. Goodbye.